Hi there, and welcome to Nex-Tech University and our this month's webinar. And my name is Olga Detrixhe. I'm with sales, and today I have a special guest here with me, Curtis Flax. He is our technology services supervisor, and I also call him RMM master. You could say backup guru. You could say a lot of good things. The gist of it is, Curtis really knows what he's talking about and what he does. So that's why we brought him on today. So welcome, Curtis. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about RMM, which stands for Remote Monitoring and Management, and really how that plays in a much larger security conversation. And let's go ahead and get started. And, first thing is RMM, remote what? That's kind of a buzzword in the industry. You kind of hear it everywhere, and it used to be not as prevalent, but it's really becoming the benchmark. Mm-hmm. It's really becoming best practice in the industry to monitor your devices. So can you tell us a little bit, what is RMM?
So just like the word says, it's remote management monitoring. So we have an application that sits on your device, whether it's your PC or your server, and we're monitoring that 24/7. So
Great. And then the management piece comes into that as well. And we'll talk about that here in a second.
Correct.
So let's get into the details of that. How does the monitoring actually work? How do you magically see stuff happening on the device?
Our RM agent works on a remote management architecture to monitor, servers, desktops, devices, and supports a variety of common protocols like telemonitoring, SNMP, event log monitoring, things like that. Okay. And so we're watching that all the time, and that's what we're monitoring.
So you have an agent, it's a piece of software, I assume, that you put on a server or a PC, for example.
Correct.
And then it sends alerts or notifications to you guys' team, is that right?
Correct. So we're able to look at the events or the alerts that come to us and basically filter those for valid events, because you're going to get a lot of events if you try to monitor yourself that mean nothing. They're not valid issues, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to filter those out, and then we're going to act upon the ones that need to be acted upon.
So that's where the management piece comes into play that
Correct.
We talked about earlier. So it's really not just about monitoring your devices and getting a bunch of notifications. It's also about filtering those, making sure you know which to act on, and then which to not act on, or which you can go, just on unactionable, basically.
Correct.
Okay, great. So do your guys then actually also take action and do something with the ones that
Yes.
come up?
So anytime we see an event that requires what you said, an actionable item, we'll start working on that pretty well immediately. So we're going to be proactive on that and fix the issue before the customer notices. So we want to be proactive instead of reactive, meaning we get it fixed before the customer has downtime.
So basically, there could be stuff going on that you guys are doing for customers that I, as an end user, might not ever know that actually happened. And all I get is a smooth operation, hopefully.
Correct.
Cool. Well, that's really interesting. So let's get into more details of what exactly we're monitoring and what we're actually looking for. So you mentioned it's desktops, it's servers. Those are the main devices you guys are looking at.
Correct.
Right?
Those are the main devices we're watching. And as you can see on the screen here, we're watching, CPU uses, hard drive failures. No point in reading all this. The big one is the event log and the application errors. A lot of times there's issues with applications and even in the event logs that maybe you don't see right away. Maybe it doesn't cause the application to crash or cause the computer or server to reboot, but it's leading up to that, and we can correct the issue before it happens. We can.
So you could basically, to your point, you could actually prevent real crashes to happen.
Correct.
If you're monitoring the software and it starts sending you some errors, and if you just let it go, maybe eventually throughout the day it would crash. And you're saying with this you can actually prevent it from even going that far.
Correct.
That's pretty powerful stuff.
And the other nice part about it is that we can install software, remove software. So you as a customer, you upgrade or you change vendors, you're going to use this other software platform. Well, then you've got to touch every machine. And this way here, we can do it for you without having to touch every machine.
So for a customer, really what that means is you don't have to wait for a tech to come out. If you have any issues with a user, you need to, maybe you're removing a user, you have somebody leave the company, you could actually clean up their computer and really get that machine ready to go for the next person stepping in without scheduling an on-site visit.
Correct.
Which really results to less downtime for you, and then also really less cost, because realistically you're not paying for the trip charge, you don't have to schedule time away from your productivity,
Correct.
things like that. That's amazing. That's really powerful.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about CPU usage and hard drive failures, network connectivity. So why does that matter? What are you guys looking there?
So basically we're looking for, on CPU usage, we're looking for high CPU usage. So if an application or just the PC in general or server in general is constantly running above 90% CPU usage, that's an issue, because then there's no place for the machine to go if it needs more resources. So basically it's already tapped out, and that's going to cause ill effects when it comes to customer usage and how their experience is. So that's what the main reason we're monitoring that. Not only that, but CPU usage will allow us to see if maybe there's an application on a server or on a desktop that shouldn't be there, malware, things like that, that's using all the resources, and we can catch that and get it off of there before it becomes a problem.
Gotcha. And basically, again, on the end user side, from my perspective, because actually that happened to me, my computer was running incredibly slow, and so once we kind of started looking into that, that's really what it was. And so with this, you can catch a lot of that stuff before you even get into the issues. Again, the proactive side of that is huge. You can resolve the issues or prevent the issues before they actually become a problem and cause downtime for the customer, right?
Correct.
And let's talk a little bit about hard drive failure, because that's something that we used to deal with all the time in the past years. So that call on a Monday morning from a customer saying, my hard drive failed over the weekend and my server is hanging on a thread and the second hard drive could fail anytime. I need a new hard drive ASAP.
So the nice thing about technology is over the last several years, they've came out with what they call smart monitoring. Smart monitoring can actually watch the hardware using the native OS. It watches the hardware and can predict failures.
Oh, really?
So it's going to start noticing that little blocks and sectors on the hard drive are bad, because they get marked as bad. And it's going to notify us of those. So when we see it repeatedly, we know, let's get new hardware ordered and let's get that replaced before it becomes an issue.
And I cannot tell you how big of a value add that is, because what a lot of times business owners don't realize, especially if the hardware is a little bit older and you're running a server that's maybe 3 years old, a lot of times the parts and pieces are actually not in production anymore. And from a sourcing and sales perspective, I know I have spent days trying to track down that one particular hard drive that goes into one particular server, and a lot of times it's just not available anymore. And then it can take up to weeks to find it somewhere and ship it overseas, or really rely on, you know, trying to find a warehouse that still stocks older hardware, which is really a gambling.
And that goes into another step of one thing, you know, that we always recommend is to make sure your hardware is always under warranty.
Yeah.
Because if it's not under warranty, there's no guarantee the parts are going to be available.
And that kind of stuff this can monitor as well,
Yeah,
right?
I can monitor the warranty and all that stuff. So as a matter of fact, there's a report that comes out every month that will go to the business owner, or to whoever they decide to goes to, that will tell them, these are the machines that are out of warranty, these are the ones that are getting ready to come up out of warranty.
Okay, so to your point again, you can be proactive on it. And a lot of times, to your point, if you renew warranty with a manufacturer within a certain period of time, you can do that without penalty. If you wait for something to happen, a lot of times they won't let you renew the warranty. So you want to make sure that you get it covered before something happens.
Correct.
And so since you mentioned the warranty, another thing that I found interesting was the software license keys. So how many of us go install something and then maybe they're looking for a maintenance renewal on that piece of software, or there may be some upgrade features, and you try to order it from the manufacturer and you need the license key, and nobody knows where to find that because you don't have that media anymore.
And as long as the PC is still valid and still active and still working, we can pull that with our agent. We can pull the license keys off that machine.
So there's a lot of standard set reporting that goes on, but then there's a lot of scripts, additional scripts you can run.
Yeah,
to
we
get
have
additional
over
information, right?
yeah, we have over 500 pre-built scripts already.
Oh, wow.
And then we have several custom-built scripts that we're looking for different applications for certain different customers request different information, so we're able to.
Have you ever had a situation where a customer needed something specific that you were not able to fulfill?
Not yet.
Cool. He didn't know I was going to ask about. That's really good to know. Okay, great. So let's talk a little bit about the patch and update failures and the event logs. You kind of mentioned that. Tell me what that matters, why that matters, and what you're looking for.
Patching update failures is a huge thing in my book. So the reason is because the reason patches are created is because somebody found a security hole. So somebody's already exploited it, or they're in the process of exploiting it, and the software vendor, whether it be Microsoft, Adobe, Java, whoever, has fixed that hole. We need to make sure that those patches and updates get applied. So we're going to make sure that those get applied. You're going to get reports on those every month. If one fails, we'll proactively start working on it. So we're going to, we're going to try it again. If we can't, we're going to call the end user. If it's a PC, we're going to have them let us on the machine, or we're going to tell them, can we work on it tonight from 11 to 6 a.m. when you're not there, so we don't have to interrupt them. Servers, we'll do the same thing. We'll just call the customer and say, hey, I need to work on this tonight, and we're going to get it taken care of. So,
would you agree that patches are probably the most underrated, underestimated security piece that customers often neglect? I've seen that a lot.
I would have to agree. A lot of new customers that we've had, we've gone in, and they're 6, 8, 9 months behind on patches.
Oh, wow.
And it's kind of scary because
every day there's new stuff coming out.
Every day.
How often do you guys do the patches?
On desktops, we do it every day from midnight to 6 a.m. The reason we did that, patches only come out once a month on Patch Tuesday. Okay. So it's the second or third Tuesday of the month. So the reason we decided to do it every day is because you're going to forget to leave your computer on one night.
Yeah, probably will.
And then, in the same note, you're going to forget to shut it off one night. So we're going to catch it eventually in that month to get it fully patched. Servers, by default, we do it from midnight to 6 a.m. Reboot is needed. If they're a 24/7 shop or have other needs, we have custom times that we can do stuff for them.
So that's the other thing. I don't know if that's ever happened to anybody, but if you're trying to do a Windows update while you're working, you can kind of take a lunch break in between because it can take hours and you're really killing your day. So we're making sure that we're doing that at off hours.
Try and do that during off-peak hours.
Awesome. So I think we covered the majority of this. And actually, there's one more item that I want to talk about, activations. And I didn't really understand that piece until you explained it to me, or I was not aware that that was part of this. And I think that's pretty sweet. You told me that you can actually go on a device and you can see if services like threat management services, firewall services are actively enabled on the device, right?
Yeah, we can log in and look and see, make sure Windows is activated, Office is activated. We can make sure that the Windows firewall is turned on or off, depending on the customer situation. We can pretty much, if it's on the PC or server, we can monitor it and we can report you on it.
Which is huge, because a lot of times people think, hey, I'm covered, I got my firewall, but if it's not the device, it's not enabled on the device, it's really pointless. You're having something sitting there that really doesn't matter. So I thought that was a huge piece of that. I want to talk a little bit we got a little technical there and talked a lot about the parts and pieces. I really want to talk about why this is so important, and kind of, as we said earlier, knowledge is really power in this case. And I put up this little comic here that I think rings so true. So the network went down and I lost my work while the server crashed. From now on, I want advance notice of any unplanned outages, and I need it yesterday. If that rings true for you as a business owner, I get that perspective. From an IT perspective, you're kind of like, well, what do you want me to do?
Well, the nice thing is that's what we're doing.
Exactly.
We're letting them know before an issue happens.
Exactly. So the next time you ask your IT person, they're kind of like, oh, I don't know how to do that. You can tell them, hey, let's get some remote monitoring and management. And there's so many applications to this, which is really awesome because sometimes people think this is only applicable to large businesses who have their own IT, but not really. Even if you have a small business, in that case, even more so because you most likely are not actually doing all these things. You're not sitting there monitoring your devices, monitoring your network, and you really don't have the time to because you're also the salesperson, the accountant, and a million other things. So have other people do it for you, right?
Right. Well, and the other part of that is the bad guys or the people that are exploiting all this stuff that I just talked about. They know you're a small business. They know you don't have the funds to compete with Fortune 500 company security. So they're picking you because they feel that you're an easy target.
Absolutely, absolutely. On the flip side, if you have a large entity with a dedicated IT staff, this can really free up their resources to take care of the stuff that matters versus, wheezing through all those notifications.
Better utilization of their time.
Absolutely, and there's really some real life applications here that I didn't initially think of. For example, we've run into instances, for example, we had a video server that was, storing the surveillance footage, and it would go down every week, and it would lose connectivity, and then basically there would be no video recorded. And as soon as we put that on, we were actually able to immediately be notified, and we didn't have the issue where next time maybe an instance happens and you don't have any video footage of that. So it's not just your servers in production, your daily applications, it's also things like video surveillance and things like that. Anything that's critical, really. Yeah,
we've actually had it to where we've been at a customer site before they got there the next morning. We were sitting in the parking lot waiting for them.
That's awesome.
And they got there like, what are you doing here? Like, your server's down, we need to start working on it.
Wow,
and they had no clue it was down.
That's a huge value add. So we talk a lot about the monitoring and the management piece, but this really comes with a more comprehensive PC security and server security approach, and really includes a lot of other servers like AV, anti-malware, things like that, right?
Yep. And so we have AV on it currently. We're using WebRoot, like we kind of discussed earlier. We're constantly evaluating products on the market. If there was one that worked every time, there'd only be one on the market. Unfortunately, there's not. There's thousands. There's thousands of different AV and anti-malware products on the market. So we're constantly evaluating which one's going to be best for our customers.
Right. Great.
So, but that's included with this as well. We have AV, anti-malware, of course, the patching that we talked about earlier. The ability to remote install, remove programs as well. Same with users, things like that. But it's a total PC server security. I mean, we're taking care of it from basically, from the keyboard to the server. We're taking care of it.
And I love that you said that it's a total PC security, server security, because as I said earlier, this is really more than just monitoring. It really goes into a whole security play, and the security landscape really has changed. Cybersecurity is this huge buzzword out there that everybody's scared of and using, and this is really part of that. So I found this, which I thought was interesting. This was a survey asked to small, medium businesses about what they think the level of threat is. And so 75% thought there's a huge threat out there, and they only 57% of them actually did anything about it. So there's over 20% of people that know there's stuff out there that they have to protect their business from, but they haven't actually taken any steps, which seems crazy because you would never leave your house and leave all the doors and windows wide open, right?
Well, I think some of that, you touched on it earlier, the boss or the owner of the business is doing everything, and either they may not know or they may not have the time to take care of that. So that's where we can help them.
Absolutely. And let's talk about that, because I also think that security has gotten so much more complex, and it's always been a layered approach. That's been around for a while, but more so than ever, it's really about all the different pieces to the puzzle, right? So can you tell me a little bit about that? What's the layered approach?
So this PC security that we're talking today, it's just a layer in this layer. So we've got policies, procedure, and awareness. Included with that one is users. No offense to anybody watching this, but 95% of all successful data breaches were caused by the end user. They clicked on something, they went somewhere, they did something they shouldn't have. So that's where that comes in, along with, security awareness training, some phishing simulators, some training to send them through, things that we can help them out with.
Yeah.
But then, the PC security, your backup, your firewall,
Yeah.
all that's part of your layered security that you need. As you were talking earlier, and I didn't even think about that, but your physical security, is your server in a locked room, or is it to where somebody couldn't get to it if they wanted it?
What we see in the industry more and more is that it's all converging. So those pieces kind of used to play independently. Like backup is a good example. It used to be more of a conversation of if a disaster hits, if your building catches on fire, if somebody just accidentally deletes something. Really, backup is more and more of a security conversation now as a last defense to ransomware, because there are threats out there that you cannot. Prevention is one piece, but you cannot always prevent everything. So restoration is another huge play in that, and backup's becoming part of the security approach, right?
Well, and unfortunately, is it's been that way, for a long time. Like you said, backup's just kind of been there in case you needed it. And business owners started using that as, well, that's my security. If something happens, I can just pull it from backup. What they don't realize is the time and cost involved to pull that from backup.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time and a lot of man hours to get that data and stuff recovered back to where, if you were being preventative about it, not only do you not have the downtime of all your employees not working, plus the time spent trying to get it back, you're still running, being proactive about it.
Right, and to your point, it's just one piece of a larger conversation. So there's your network, your firewalls, then there's your preventative stuff as far as the PC security that helps protect your endpoints. But then there's also the cultural conversation of educating your users and also putting in policies and procedures. That's become almost just as important as putting all those technical pieces in place. And that's really, really changing. Things are getting a lot more complex.
It used to be that when you're at work, you could go to any website you wanted while you were working.
Oh, yeah.
And, if you wanted to go check your own Gmail account, you could do that while you're at work. And, we're coming to find out, or what should be happening is they need to have policies and procedures. Maybe they still allow that, but it needs to be written down that they can.
Right. And then part of it is with the rise of cloud applications, that's a whole nother level of security we haven't even considered at.
Do they know where their data's at?
Right. If you have a Gmail account or anything else, if it's out in the cloud there, do you know where your data is at? And I was actually at a conference recently with a bunch of national companies like Nex-Tech. They're integrators and provide managed services. And we sat there and we had a conversation, and all we did was listing all the security services or products that customers should consider and that we should be part of offering. And it took us an hour to list all of them. It's a really large, complex conversation. The thing is, as a business user or business owner, that might be very daunting. And the thing to remember is it is a complex conversation, but what's important is to sit down with somebody you trust, because they are going to get a good idea of your business, and then really have that conversation. Talk through the pieces that matter to you. Look at some of the stuff that really applies to your business. Make some priorities on what you want to invest in, and make sure you cover your basics, right?
And not only somebody you trust. It has to be somebody you trust, but make sure there's somebody that's knowledgeable in that area as well.
Yeah, so look for certifications and things like that.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. I think that's all we had today. If you have any more questions for us, feel free to reach out to us over the phone, over email. Check out our website. We have a lot more resources out there. Thank you so much for joining us today, Curtis. I really enjoyed having that conversation with you, and I hope that you guys learned something today.